Hey, what's up? What's up? It's your girl Erica. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Sunday. I hope all is well and I hope you're having an amazing day. You know, whether you went to church or whether you went to brunch or you just decided to have a lazy day at home. I hope you've had an incredible weekend. I know we're getting ready to, we're starting the new week. And so I hope it's off to a great start for you. Now, I am here, of course, to do a review of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now, Love and Marriage Huntsville is not new for me. I am a day one person for Love and Marriage Huntsville. I've been there since season 1, episode 1. However, I'm new to YouTube. I was not reviewing shows at the start of Love and Marriage Huntsville. As a matter of fact, I literally just started doing reviews this year, at the top of this year, which is now 2025. So, of course, Love and Marriage has been going on. And I think when I started recording, they were in like the second half of their season, so I just didn't pick it up, although I was watching. But I am here now to start off with a fresh new season. This is now season 10, episode 1, and it was called NDAs and DNAs. Now, I have a lot of notes here because there's a lot to unpack in this first episode. Let me just say that Melody Holt is no longer a part of the cast. She was not there last night. I did not miss Melody at all. I didn't see any gaps. I didn't see where there was something that needed to be filled. And I think each and every person and character on the show, they can actually hold their own. And they're not characters because they're actually real people and they have real life stories. So each person, each couple, you know, every individual, they were able to sort of hold their own last night. So let's get into it. Now, you guys, you know, if you've been following my page or you've been following my reviews, you know that I take old school notes. So I'm going to refer back and forth to my notes. Of course, I can tell you exactly what happened, but I still want to make sure that I don't forget anything in case you haven't seen the episode just yet. So let's get into it. The opening scene, it started with Letitia and Marcel. They were at home with their 3 children. It was amazing to see how much their children have grown. In season 1, when the show first started, I think that Letitia's youngest child, Macy, was only about 3 or 4 years old, and now we see her as a teenager. Their son Marcel Jr., and I'm not so sure what the other daughter's name is, but they all start with M. But like I said, they've grown so much, so it was really, really good to see them. Guess who showed up? Miss Wanda is back, and I love it. I think that Miss Wanda added a lot to the show back in the day. You know, she was like the messy mother-in-law, but we loved it. We enjoyed it. She always had something smart to say. She always had something funny to say. She even said some cringy things, some crazy things, and at times we didn't like it. But overall, Miss Wanda is good for the show. I've met Miss Wanda. As a matter of fact, Carlos King, shout out to Carlos King. He actually had a tour about a year ago. So it's now 2025. So this was in 2024. He had a Mother's Day brunch here in Washington, D.C., and it was for the Love and Marriage DC crew. And Miss Wanda actually came with one of her friends. I think her friend's name, she's a YouTuber. Her name is Marcella Speaks. So shout out to Marcella. I met Miss Wanda. We had a great time. We were dancing and talking. She's really a cool person, a very nice person. What you see is what you get. But Miss Wanda was very, very hospitable to everyone. She was very, very nice, very kind. And we know that sometimes they put on airs, but I just think that's who Miss Wanda is. In actuality, Miss Wanda is a lot more toned down when you meet her in person. Like, she seems almost shy a little bit, but she was really, really cool. I actually have like a video with her dancing and, you know, pick a picture with her. So it was really cool. But anyway, Miss Wanda came. She said that she actually drove in from Birmingham to from Birmingham to Huntsville, and she was just coming to, you know, check on the kids. Of course, she hugged Macy when she came in. Miss Wanda came right in and got, you know, right on in and said, let's get down to business. So she sat next to Marceau. Let me just say this. Tisha looks absolutely beautiful. Tisha has always been gorgeous, but Tisha looks absolutely beautiful, like this natural makeup look. I love that for her. But she sat down. Miss Wanda sat down. She actually sat next to Marceau. And Marcel got up. He said, I want to keep my enemies in front of me. So she said, oh, it seems like, you're running just like Martell. Like, what's up with that? So Miss Wanda is referring to last season. In case you didn't watch, or, you're somewhat familiar with it, you know that Martell has decided to oust Marceau for also being a cheater. And of course, Marceau has never ever said that he's not a cheater. He's just always said, sort of played along with it, never really gave a direct or a straight answer. And of course, he's doing the same thing. And I agree with everything that Miss Wanda said. Miss Wanda said, you not saying anything, put your children, put your wife, your entire family, even me, in a precarious predicament, because now we have to answer these unanswered, or these questions that we really don't want to continue to address. And she also said, like, you not saying anything is almost, the answer in itself. And I agree with her. Marceau has never, ever, ever said, I've never cheated on my wife. In 10 seasons, whenever this comes up, well, I would say in the past 3 to 4 seasons, there have been questions about Marceau cheating, but I've never known him to say, I've never cheated on my wife. Tisha doesn't seem to play into it too much. Tisha's like, whether Tisha believes that Marceau cheated or not, she's just not letting on to us. I believe that Tisha does believe that Marceau cheated, but I think Tisha is just at a place where she's tried to grow individually and try to grow for herself, so she's not necessarily focusing on him. To me, Tisha has that attitude like, I'm going to do me, and I'm going to do, make sure that my children are okay, and I'm not going to even worry about him. Whatever Marceau is doing, that's on him. It's like Tisha has this attitude like the truth will come to the light. And so with that being said, hey, we're back at square one. Where in season 1, Miss Wanda was questioning Marceau about his treatment toward Tisha and what he was doing out in the Huntsville streets. And now we're in season 10 and we're back at that place again. I just wish that Marceau and his brother Maurice they're not going to come clean. I even wrote down as I was like watching it, I was like, I think I even said it. I said they have probably had this practice where they have sort of, they've rehearsed this stuff. They know how to answer these questions. It's like they answer a question with another question. So they're never really confessing. They're never really professing anything. They're never really giving you a straight answer. It's almost as if they're constantly in practice of what, it's almost like they're playing mind games, so to speak. And that's exactly, to me, what Marceau did with the conversation. But if Tisha likes it, we don't have to love it, but we have to accept it, so to speak. So the next scene we see Maurice. He's with his son Monster and Kimmy. They are at home. And of course, Monster is now about 17 or 18 years old. So he's getting ready to go to college. And, let me just say this. I never cared for the nickname Monster. I know that most parents give their children a nickname, but Monster is just not it. Like, sometimes you sort of speak things over your children, and so I'm hoping that Monster doesn't become a monster if he's not a monster already. I just don't like the monster. But anyway, it stuck with him. That's what they wanted to nickname their child, so I have nothing to do with it. But the thing about it is, so Kimmy was talking to Monster about school. He mentioned some of the colleges or the universities that he would like to attend. I think he said Ole Miss, and I think he said another one, but I can't remember what it was. And so she, of course, says, you're going to have a lot of responsibility. Basically, you're going to be on your own. So it's up to you how you conduct yourself, both, educationally as well as personally. So you got to make sure that you keep up with your schoolwork, but then you also, you're going to have some fun. You're going to do some things, but you have to make sure that your education comes first. So she was trying to tell him, basically, you have to learn how to be a balanced young adult when you're in college, and that is true. A lot of people have gone away to school, and then a lot of people, they went to college, they went to community college, or they sort of stayed at home. Like for myself, I'm from DC area. I went to Howard University, and I didn't even stay on campus. So I would go and have fun, I would do things, but I still did things with my normal friends who were already here in the DMV because I lived here. So I had a college experience, but I think had I been on campus, it would have been a lot different. So I definitely understand what Kimmy was saying. And you do have to, kind of like not become like a party boy or a party girl, because it can definitely take away from your education. Like when I was in college, like many, many years ago, like, there were like clubs all over the place, and they were always jam-packed, and we went to the clubs a lot. And, I was still focused, but at the same time too, I know had I just been in that environment all the time, I don't say I would have gotten off track, but I mean, it could have happened. So I understood what Kimmy was saying. I don't want to just delve into my life at all, but I was just saying I did understand what Kimmy was saying about your education. So Maurice, they got into the conversation about, Maurice's DUI, and, Monster said that his friends were sort of making, fun of it. And, he felt some sort of kind of way. I don't think he felt comfortable talking about it. He sort of answered the questions, but you can tell in his facial expression that he wasn't completely comfortable with that conversation. So of course, Maurice, in all of his arrogance, in his arrogant glory, just said, well, were they laughing when the case was dismissed? And, Monster really just, he said no, but he didn't really have a response. And I just thought to myself, Maurice is so arrogant, because not once did he say, well, son, I apologize for you having to go through that. I realized that I made a mistake. It was kind of silly on my part to be drinking and driving, especially with you now being a young adult and me trying to tell you to do the right thing. He didn't even say that. So I was just kind of like upset. Like, again, Maurice is a lawyer. He is a lawyer, as Madea would say. And the thing about it is, like I've always said it, if you look at some of my old tweets, or, I've been saying this from day one, Maurice is worse than all of them. He comes across as, this preacher, this motivator, this good guy. But to me, Maurice is worse than Martell and Marceau. And that is how I feel. That's my opinion. You may say, no, Erica, there's no possible way. No one is worse than Martell. I think that Maurice is worse than Martell, because Maurice is super sneaky with it. And I never cared for Maurice. But, again, Kimmy is a person. I think Kimmy is a really nice lady, but I think Kimmy plays, a little dumb at times. She sort of gives me that Chrissy Snow type impression. And if you don't know who Chrissy Snow is, you're probably like, I'm almost 50. So Chrissy Snow was just a character on television in Three's Company that sort of played like this dumb blonde character, like, she was like really like dumb. And so to me, Kimmy plays that role sometimes, like a Chrissy Snow role. And I don't like that for Kimmy, because I know that Kimmy is a highly educated woman, and she's just a smart woman, period. It's not just about it's not about like book smarts. Is also like about common sense and wisdom. And I think Kimmy is a very wise woman, but she plays herself down when it comes to Maurice. My opinion of it always, and I'm just giving my opinion because of the simple fact that I've watched it from day one. I felt like Kimmy got married at 46 years old. I think she was 46 when they got married. Maurice is a little younger than her. And I think because she got married so young, I think it was one of those things like, maybe she didn't know if it would ever happen for her. Maybe there were times where she didn't even want to get married. But by the time she got married, she felt like, oh my God, like I'm finally someone's wife. And so to me, Kimmy tends to play herself down because of that, and I really, really, really don't like that. So of course they were continuing their conversation, and Kimmy was just talking about, again, last season after Martell kind of ousted Marceau, there was some comments where Chris had sort of made some comments about them. There were some things where I don't know if there was a comment made that the men should make the women sign an NDA if they're cheating. And I think Kimmy asked Chris about that, or someone asked Chris about the comment he made, and Chris said, well, that sounds like something that Marcel and Maurice would do. That's not something that I would do or have ever done. And so Kimmy asked him, like, hey, you know, have you made a woman sign an NDA? Maurice's response was, I've never made anyone sign an NDA. And Kimmy was like, but that's not the right answer. You should have said, I've never cheated on you to even have to make someone sign an NDA. I've never cheated on my wife ever. And that should have been the appropriate response. That should have been the correct response. Instead, he's playing these games. Like I said, he's a lawyer and he plays a lot of mind games, but Maurice is really the monster. They call the son the monster, but Maurice is really the monster. And I don't like what he does, but like I said, Kimmy, she turns on a blind eye. She acts as if it's not happening. It's like out of sight, out of mind for her. So if she is okay with it, we have no other choice but to go on and move on from it, because she's not addressing it, and she almost acts as if she really doesn't even she almost acts as if she really doesn't care about it. So what can we do? Moving on. We move on next to Destiny. Destiny is back. A lot of people have a love-hate relationship with Destiny. I personally like Destiny. I like her for the show. I know we didn't get a lot of personal story from her at one point. I do understand she was going through a lot. You know, but I've always liked Destiny. I do believe that Destiny is an honest person. There's something about Destiny that I really feel like is really, really genuine. And there's not a lot of fluff. I think she's very blunt and she speaks her mind. And I think some people don't like that. And then I also think that Destiny is a softie. I think she really protects herself a lot by trying to act like she's mean, when in actuality, she's probably really, really sweet. But anyway, Destiny is still trying to do the e-commerce thing with the Madani products. And she's also back in real estate. She told us that she's been in real estate for 19 years. We had no idea. And, you know, Martell came in. And, of course, Destiny and Martell filmed together a lot. That's nothing new. She just asked Martell. Martell seems to be back into real estate and back on track with everything he was doing when the show initially started. So she asked him, could she co-list on a property that I think he's doing like some contract negotiations for. So she said she wanted to be an agent on the project. He said that he would try to get her on. I hope that Martell was telling the truth, because, you know, Martell is a liar. And I really hope that he helps Destiny out as far as that's concerned. Now, Martell mentioned that he's in a relationship with Ariane. You know, I don't even want to say hard stop, like skirt. It's not even that, because we figured that anyway. Martell is just not going to be alone. We know that there are some men or some women who cannot be alone, and Martell is one of them. Ariane has been called coleslaw. She has been called side piece. Martell called her a peasant, and now he's saying she could potentially be a wife to be. Ariane is coming to the show. Carlos King, I know that, you know, you probably would never see my video. Shout out to Carlos King. We have communicated, you know, on Twitter/X, but Carlos, we really don't want to see Ariane. We know that she's a part of Martell's life, but we really just don't want to see Ariane. She's coming, y'all. I think she's coming to the show. I think by the end of this season, because I know sometimes they break it up, but I think at some point she will be on the show, and so we'll just have to stay tuned. I could be wrong, but I just have that feeling that she's going to be a part of the show. She's going to make an appearance at some point. You know, when the show first started, I really liked Mel. I really liked Mel. As time went on, I saw Mel take a turn for the worst. I think after the divorce, I do believe that Mel found or gained some sort of strength, but it also made her a little mean and angry and bitter, and I didn't like that for her. You know, she's really had some bad seasons these past few seasons, but I still don't want to see Ariane. I still don't want to see Martell. I know that he's making a life with Ariane now, and that's okay, but I just don't want to see her. Point blank, period. Sorry. Destiny also talked about, you know, Martell was asking Destiny what's going on with her. Destiny said that, you know, Destiny at one point was sort of, I don't want to say dating Nell's son Lance, but they were kind of messing around, or, you know, sort of, you know, they had something going on. There was a little situationship going on. And come to find out, Destiny actually, she has a baby. You know, she found out that Lance has a baby. And hold on just a second, guys. Okay, sorry guys, there was someone, my ring, you know, there was someone at the door, but it's handled. Anyway, so Destiny just said, you know, she felt really bad about having to find out that Lance had a baby online. And I think that that is a little bad. I mean, I don't know where Destiny and Lance were as far as their friendship or their situationship, but if you know that you're having a baby, I think that you should sort of let a person know, like, hey, I'm having a baby. Like, to me, sometimes, yeah, we know that sometimes men don't always tell the truth, or women don't always tell the truth, but the thing about it is, give a person a chance to decide what they want to do. You know, if Destiny wanted to continue to deal with Lance knowing that he was having a baby, then that's cool. If she decided not to, that's also cool, but give her the option to decide of what she wants to do. But I don't even think Lance gave her that option. So Destiny says she's open to, you know, dating and dealing with someone else at this particular point. And so that was the end of that. Destiny also asked Martell about, you know, where he was with the other guys. He really had an issue with Marcel. Now, Marcel and Maurice are biological brothers. For some reason, though, Martell and Maurice is very sensitive. He sort of walks on glass around Martell, and I think it's because Martell knows his secrets, but I think because Maurice tries to motivate Martell or appear to that he's in Martell's corner, that Martell has not exposed him yet. Marcel has been a little more vocal about things he doesn't like about Martell, and I think that's why Martell went after Marcel. He has not necessarily gone after Maurice just yet. And so Destiny was saying, look, you know, you've been down, you know, you're trying to come back. You're doing better now. I don't think you getting into it with Marcel and just sort of slinging mud is a good look right now. You need to kind of let that go. And she asked him about the whole thing with Tisha, and he said basically, you know, he didn't really care. It was like an eye for an eye. That's how he feels. He feels like they've been coming at me for years, and so I'm going to come at them now. And that's what he's doing. He doesn't care anymore. You know, people say, you know, Martell's doing it because he's miserable, and misery loves company. That's part of it. And it's also the fact that Martell has been the guy or the bad guy for so long that now he no longer wants to be the solo or the only bad guy. He knows he's a bad guy. He just doesn't want to be the only one. So now he's like, okay, you guys aren't going to, you know, dog me and mistreat me when you guys have been doing the same thing, you know, doing dirt with me all these years. I never said anything, but hey, I'm here to do it now. Not saying that I agree with it, but I understand, like, Martell is just martelling right now. So what can you say and what can you do? You know, if your slate was clean, then you wouldn't have anything to worry about. Now, Marcel and Maurice don't have anything to worry about that much because Tisha and Kimmy aren't going to say or do anything. But if they had a different kind of wife or, you know, a different woman in their lives, they may not be, somebody may be signing divorce papers, or, you know, there might be some other conversations happening at this time. So we see Ken and Marquez, they meet up. Ken and Trisha are still together. And so Ken said after, you know, last season, you know, Ken said he wanted to try to make strides to just make things more comfortable. You know, Ken is sort of co-parenting with Trisha. He's been in the children's lives for years. They love him as like a stepfather or a father figure, but he wanted to sort of include Marquez because I think he got a little backlash in saying that he was sort of overstepping his boundaries. So he's reaching out to Marquez. Marquez is trying to say he wants things to get better. So they have, they're sort of discussing the situation. Now, let me say this. Again, Carlos King, love you. Trisha and Ken actually have a story with their marriage. I mean, with them not getting married. Ken wants to get married. Trisha's still not at a place where she wants to get married. We don't want to see Marquez. I don't want to see Marquez all season. I know it's entertaining, but I don't want to see him. Let me just say this about Marquez. Marquez, we're not mesmerized by your cat eyes. We're not mesmerized by your hazel cat eyes. That went out in 1990. It was a thing back in the day where girls, the ladies love men with lighter eyes. We don't care. That was never really my thing. We don't care. You're not getting away with anything. Carlos King, I smell Ralph Pittman all over Marquez. Marquez is here, number one, because he wants to be on TV, and he also wants to expose Trisha as a liar. I will get more into that later, but he is definitely giving me Ralph Pittman from the Real Housewives of Atlanta vibes. We all know that Ralph, he wanted to make Drew look so bad. Ralph is the biggest narcissist, but he would always say that Drew was the liar. I don't care. Drew told her little white lies, so to speak, but Drew doesn't lie as much as Ralph, and we all know that. I mean, and I'm going to say this, and this is not to be taken in a derogatory way. You have to be blind, deaf, or dumb to not see that Ralph Pittman was a liar. And that's the same with Marquez. You have to be blind, deaf, or dumb to not know that Marquez is a liar, and he has an agenda to be on television again and to expose Trisha as a liar. This man wants to poke holes in every story that she has. It doesn't matter. Trisha has been a single mom for a very long time, even before Ken came into the picture. But we're going to go on. So they said that Ken said he's going to do his part to try to make sure that they work things out. He said Ken told him the truth. I can be honest with you. Trisha's not having it. She's not happy that you're around. She's going to have much more of a problem. So Ken said you're going to have more of a problem with Trisha than me. All right, so then we move on to Nell and Chris. Nell and Chris, and I apologize, guys. I'm not trying to give you a long review, but they gave us a lot of meat in this first episode of season 10. They really, really did. So we go to Chris and Nell's house. Nell and Chris have a beautiful home. They showed the outside of it. It was beautiful. I would love for them to kind of lighten it up in there. I'm not criticizing. They have a beautiful home. Don't get me wrong, but I would just like to see them sort of come out of the old-fashioned wood and sort of lighten that house up, because that house has it can have a lot of character. It would just be gorgeous. But anyway, so they're sitting down talking. Of course, Nell, she sort of revealed that Chris Jr. and Lance both have new children. This was CJ's first baby. He has a daughter, and then Lance actually has another daughter. Lance already has 2 other children, so this new baby makes his 3rd child. But she said that Lance is kind of struggling with that, whatever that meant. And so Chris was, and then she said they also need to have some conversations with their boys. Chris Sr. told Nell that Martell was going to stop by, and so Martell came over. And let me just say this, Martell always dresses really, really nice. We know some of his clothes are like extra tight, super duper tight, but Martell can dress. He looks so nice with his that fitted coat. I don't know, I don't think it was wool. It looked more like a trench coat, but whatever it was, it looked really, really nice with the turtleneck and the slacks. Martell looked good. He really, really does. He's not my favorite person, but Martell is a nice looking guy, and he really dresses really, really nice. I do like that. Excuse me, I do like that about Martell. So they came over. So of course they get into the conversation. The conversation was that, Nell felt as if Martell set her up. She met Ariane at an event, I think a clubbing event, a polo event, and I think she sort of took a picture with her or said hello to her and took a picture, and the picture was posted or whatever. And I know, Nell was introduced as Mel's friend, but I guess, Nell felt some kind of way because she felt like Martell set her up. Well, I don't really care about that because I feel like if Ariana's around, they're all going to take pictures with her. They're all going to have some type of conversation with her at some point. Martell is bringing Ariana around. Is he doing it purposely? Is he trying to force Ariana on them? I don't think so. It could be the other way around. Ariana could be forcing her way into their lives because Ariana could come to an event with Martell and say, you know what, these are all Mel's people. I'm not going to even try to have conversation with them. But she seems like she wants to fit in or she wants to be accepted. So, for Nell to say that, I don't know. Nell sometimes is, to me, always loud and wrong. Loud and wrong. So I wasn't really feeling what Nell said. If Martell did it, then hey, I would just have to sort of eat crow on that. But I don't feel like it was that big of a deal the way she sort of went off about it or the way Chris presented it to her, hey, it is what it is. So that was pretty much it. They had their little conversation. That's pretty much it for them. I don't think I need to expound on that anymore. Ken and Latricia, they open up their own gym. They've been sort of doing that. Trisha told Ken they were driving in the car. Ken was driving, and Trisha kind of, Ken made mention that he had met with Marquez. Trisha doesn't trust Marquez, and for good reason. Like I said, to me, I feel like he wants to expose her. I feel like he's there to do more harm than good. I don't even think it's about the kids. I think it's more about Latricia. I don't know if he would be able to break Ken and Latricia up, but his goal, like I said, to me, is to expose the bad parts or the bad side of Latricia. That's what I think. And so she was telling him that. She said, hey, I'm not fully trusting of him. I don't really, know what he's doing. I don't know, what the ultimate goal is, but he does have a motive. And so Kim was kind of telling her, well, look, you have to trust me. And, you keep saying that, but you have to understand that people can change. I don't know. I don't want to say Chris is being stupid behind this. I think Ken has a little motive too. Because Ken is open so that he won't look like the bad guy. He won't look like I'm trying to keep the children from their father. But at the same time, Ken probably is thinking, well, Marquez is kind of like, let him hang himself. Like, if Marquez is going to be a good father, then let him be that. But if he doesn't and he proves to be exactly who you said he was, then he'll just hang himself. So I think everybody has their own idea of how they want it to go. A lot of people say that Latricia still loves Marquez. I don't see it that way. I probably have an opposing view versus everyone else. I think she hates him. I think that her problem is she doesn't communicate well. I think that Latricia is one of those people. She's quiet, and she would prefer for someone to speak for her, just like her best friend Sharon. She's one of those people. I think she's angry with him. I think she doesn't want him around. I think like she said, I think she would be okay if Marquez never showed up for the children again. I think she's completely over him. She doesn't know how to communicate with him because, again, he is Ralph Pittman. He comes in, he stirs up madness. It's like, and then that storm in her brews. It's like a tornado. Like, he comes in and just messes everything up, and then Latricia is there to have to deal with the aftermath of this raging storm called Marquez, and she's tired of doing that. And so I can get with it. It seems to be a communication issue with these ladies in Huntsville. None of these ladies communicate well except for I think Melody was a good communicator. Destiny can be until she gets really, really mad and then she shuts down. But Latricia, Letitia, and Kimmy is very eloquent. She's very articulate, but there is something there where they have this common theme of sort of playing dumb or they're just not being honest about what it really is. So anyway, Trisha's friend Sharon came to her home, and they were just talking. They were having a random conversation. Trisha was telling Sharon that Marquez is back. She doesn't know why. She heard that he even moved back, and she doesn't know why. She says she just feels like he's there to stir the pot and cause trouble. And I agree. I've already said it. I don't need to repeat it. I don't like Marquez. I don't want to see Marquez. If this was his first and his last episode for the season, I'd be perfectly fine with it. But hey, what can we do? I know it's entertaining, so he will continue to be on there for the rest of the season. Marquez just reminds me of like, and I don't even want to say this in like a bad way, but he just reminds me of like an addict or something. It's something with Marquez. It's just weird to me. I just can't put my finger on it, guys. But so Marquez comes in the house. She said that Xavier was picking up his little sister and they were going out for protein shakes, but then Marquez shows up in the house. You can tell they're probably, the way Trisha reacted, she probably heard Marquez's voice before she saw him. So he comes in, and I don't know, they edited where it looked like Sharon and was sort of attacking him, but I really believe that Marquez was asking a lot of questions. And again, Trisha was sitting there letting Sharon sort of say everything she wanted to say. Again, Trish is the worst communicator ever. For her to be a woman, women normally are pretty good at communicating, but Trisha defies that rule. Whatever they say women are good communicators. If Trisha were our example, then they would have to say that's not true. But anyway, Marquez and Sharon were going back and forth. We've seen that a number of times where, you know, the ex and then a friend, they sort of get into it. I really thought it was pointless because Marquez shouldn't have been in Trisha's home. And Sharon should have said, look, I know you want to bait me into this. I'm not going to give you that. God bless. You know, Trisha, you handle it from here, but I'm not going to say another word. It just so happens that Xavier was actually the one, Trisha's son told him, Dad, just wait outside. Anytime he had to say that, that lets you know that it had gotten bad. And bottom line, Marquez was out of pocket. You know, and you could just tell that he just said that, you know, like it was just too much confusion. There was too much going on, and he really didn't like it. I just said Marquez. I have it right here in my notes. I said Marquez was on my screen way too long. And that was just it. That was pretty much the episode. That's how it kind of went off. Let me just make sure that I covered everything. I think I did. Trisha, like I said, during that argument too, I think Marquez put Xavier in a little precarious predicament where he had to validate or confirm whether his mom did something or not. I can't remember exactly what it was, but again, it was Marquez's part of his whole goal, which is to make Trisha look like a liar. And he was like, oh son, thank you so much for confirming that or whatever, saying that you're a godsend. Well, Marquez, was your son Xavier a godsend when you were in Atlanta and you had no communication or connection with him? Like, was he a godsend then when you walked away and, you know, you refused to even be a father to him? You know, was he a godsend then? So I'm like, Marquez, bye. Like, you know, Trisha did really, really well during that film, because I know if it were me, you know, it's not about confrontation. It's not about being a confrontational person, but just someone being in your home and they're not supposed to be there. If I were Trisha, I would have gotten up and been like, look, you got 2 seconds to get out of here. Basically, I would have gotten up while filming and escorted him to that door. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would have been the end of that. But that was the episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope I've given you, you know, something that would make you even say, oh, let me run down here and watch this. Or, you know, even if you don't get a chance to see it, I hope that you enjoyed the review well enough to know that, hey, you know, all of that is going on. Wow, you know, this is a show that I'm interested in. So if it's something that you don't normally watch, maybe you can get on the bandwagon with us and check out Love and Marriage Huntsville, because it was a really good show. Carlos King, congratulations to you and your producers. That was a great season premiere. It's given us a fresh start, and we're here for it. So Guys, I'm going to be reviewing Love and Marriage Huntsville this season. Hang in there with me. Please like this video and then subscribe to my channel. Like I said, I'm a new YouTuber. I know there's so many YouTubers out there and they're giving you great content. Believe me, I follow a lot of them and I listen to them on a regular basis as well. But I'm a new YouTuber, guys. Just look, hang in there with me. You know, just maybe I'll have an opposing view or something a little different. So check me out. Like I said, I'll see you on the next time. Like I said, if there's something, and I'm going to also be reviewing the second part of The Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. That also comes on tonight, so I'm going to be doing a video for that. So until next time, please, like I said, have a great start to your week, and hugs and kisses to you. And also, thank you so much for those who have been supporting me. Again, click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and also leave me a comment. I love to read the comments. I love to interact with people. There have been people over time that have left me comments, and we have sort of had that little, a positive exchange back and forth, and just, I will reply to their comments. I like stuff like that. So guys, leave me a comment, and if not, I appreciate the watch. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.